everyone, and welcome back to World Explorers. This is the podcast where usually we take a random prompt and build a world, but occasionally we just take a week off to talk about either a movie or a topic that interests us, and this week is going to be one of those weeks.
Yeah, so I just watched Cruella de Vil. Cruella. I haven't seen it prior to this, and so I just watched it. Amazing movie.
So good.
Highly recommended if you are
watch.
like me and haven't watched it for some reason. And I want to talk about it because it's a villain protagonist, and it's done really, really well. And there were so many things in this movie that I was just blown away by. Mostly me sitting there trying to figure out how is this going to end in a way that sets her up to be the villain for 101 Dalmatians, but still is a satisfying ending for her character.
It worked.
They did it. They were phenomenal.
It worked. I'm like, yep, and that's Cruella de Vil. And it also explained the thing that I was confused was, like, we know from 101 Dalmatians that she gives the dogs to these two characters. And I'm sitting here like, but why did she do that? And now after watching this movie, I'm like, oh, that's why. That makes sense. Hey, look, that weird character inconsistency has been explained very well.
Yeah, like...
Or how they even knew her.
Yeah, it was so well done. Anyway, the main thing I was wanting to talk about with this was just, again, the fact that she is a villain protagonist. Because villain protagonists I find extremely interesting, and they aren't done nearly enough. Main reason being why is they're really hard to write.
Oh, yeah.
And part of that, I think, is because no one writes them, and so we have very few templates to go off of.
Well, it's also because when you have a villain, you have this weird balance in that they are the main character, and therefore you want people to relate with them and connect with them and kind of root for them. But at the same time, they're the villain, and you shouldn't want them to win because what they want isn't good.
Yeah, and so the way that Cruella seemed to solve this problem for the most part was just have the Baroness be worse than she is.
Yeah.
Like that's the main thing that you'll see happen a lot is you'll have the villain do villainous things, but they'll come off as almost kind of the good guy-ish just because they're fighting somebody who is even worse than they are. You remove that person, and suddenly the main character might not look like the kind of person you want to root for. Now, in the case of Cruella, I think that there's still a chance that she could have worked even if the Baroness wasn't worse, but the Baroness being worse definitely helps it work a lot better.
I mean, it's also, I think the Baroness was interesting because it's not like she was against her or like, well, she kind of was, but like, it was more like she wanted to become her. Like, she was competing to be as bad, if not worse, than the Baroness. Like, that was her goal. And I think that's what really drove it, because there's a lot where, like redeeming the villain is such a popular thing for these type of stories, and they obviously couldn't go on that route with this one. So I think it was really fun to watch her like, I'm going to one up the Baroness. I'm going to be worse than the Baroness. I'm going to send her own dogs on her type thing.
Yeah, and that's why when I was watching it, I was struggling to figure out how is this going to end in a way that doesn't make it look like Cruella is it doesn't make us hate Cruella, but at the same time, it makes her end up as the villain at the end. Because she has to be the villain by the end. You can't say, oh, she ended up as the good guy, then somewhere in between now and 101 Dalmatians she became a true villain. No, that doesn't work. You've got to end with her as a villain. This is an origin story. And they did that. And they even ended with her still, like, hinting at the fact that she wants to skin the dogs, so she's like, no, I'm just joking, like, the whole time. I don't really want to skin them, but
she does.
We all know
she does.
She does.
She really does. And honestly, by the end of it, you're like, oh, I kind of can't blame her. Like, I mean, they did kill her, you know? That did happen. Like, I could see, I mean, it wasn't the dog's fault, but, like, associating it with the dogs, I see where the distaste towards Dalmatians has occurred, and it's a valid reason to dislike them. Is it a valid reason to want to skin 101 Dalmatian puppies? No.
99.
Well, second movie.
Oh, I have been seeing the second one. So
or the other live action?
Second one.
Or is that's live action one, right?
I was talking about the cartoon.
Yeah, but there's a live action one. Oh yeah, fun fact, guys.
One, and a sequel to the live action one, and a cartoon, and a sequel to the cartoon, and Cruella.
Yeah, I was about to say, people were like, oh, it's a live action Dalmatian movie, we don't need this. I'm like, Dalmatians was the first to do it. They started this trend. Yeah, but like, I think Cruella is interesting because I really wish that Disney would like continue on this trend. They started with Maleficent, which is another amazing movie. The second one was pretty good, but I still think the first one was better. Of like saying like we want to reimagine these old stories, but we want to make them like new and fresh. A lot of time has passed before them, and these are of course classic stories in fairy tales and stuff. So Disney already reimagined the original fairy tales, and now Disney's taking on that and reimagining them a second time because Disney's old enough to justify doing that. Sadly, like or congrats to Disney, whatever point of view you have there. And so like, how do we make it fresh? Sadly, a lot of these movies are like, let's just remake the original, but live action, which is like great. Or they are doing things like what they did with Sleeping Beauty and with 101 Dalmatians, where they're like, let's focus on a different character completely, and who's the next best character to focus other than the hero? Let's focus on the villain. And then they did it in two very different but really cool ways. With Maleficent, they did it with a redemption story. Like, yeah, she was the villain, she did all these things that happened, but by the end of it, she was also the hero by the end of it, which was kind of cool. And then with 101 Dalmatians, it's like, this is the origin story. You're gonna pity this character, you're gonna root for her by the end, and then by the end you realize, oh shoot, I've rooted for her to become a horrible person who's now going to become the main villain of this beloved cartoon. And both of those new ways of seeing those stories made them like completely new stories and really good, and I really enjoyed them, and I want more of those and less remakes. I want an Ursula origin story instead of another Little Mermaid.
Real quick, I want to before we get back to that topic, I want to quickly say that if you want an extra great experience watching Cruella, watch 101 Dalmatians first, because I watched 101 Dalmatians, and then like the next day or something I watched Cruella, and there's so many tiny things sprinkled throughout there that I wouldn't have caught. Things like Cruella's ridiculous crazy driving, like that's a thing she did in the cartoon, and then the live action she's a crazy driver. There were so many little things like that sprinkled throughout the movie. Anyway, back to like remaking and adapting old stories with villains. Yeah, I definitely want to see them tackle this whole villain origin story more as well, because the remakes are boring. They're often shot-for-shot remakes, and they're often just worse versions of the originals.
Yeah, like the only one I thought was better.
Reimagining them.
Yeah, the only one I thought that was slightly better was Aladdin, but even then it was still a remake. So
yeah, and I've heard a lot of mixed things about Aladdin.
Okay, I really liked it, but that's a whole nother thing.
I don't see it as something that is really worth my time to watch. I still need to watch Mulan. You told me that it was worth watching, but
Mulan is a different thing entirely. Okay, that's like a whole other thing with Mulan, in that they tried to be more historically accurate, but at the same time they really like the thing that made Mulan a special character, they kind of took and like was, nah, we don't need that, and threw it out the window in this new one, but it is more culturally accurate. But then at the same time, I think it was banned in China still, or I don't know. Mulan's a whole mess.
Don't they use like chi to start running up walls and stuff?
Mulan doesn't. The complaints about Mulan are perfectly valid. But I do think Mulan has some value. It has more value than a lot of the remakes. Like, things like Cinderella, which we never talk about because it was one of their first, and it was boring as could be. I actually watched that one in the movie theater with my mom, and we came out and we're like, that was boring. Like, we didn't enjoy it at all. We were very disappointed in it because I thought I was hoping for something because Magnificent came out before it, and I loved Magnificent. So I was like really excited that this would be something like that, and it wasn't. It was just a scene for scene copycat, and it was boring. Beauty and the Beast was like beautiful, and for that reason I added something to the movie, but it was still a complete copy. No one wants to talk about Lady and the Tramp and the Lion King and the Jungle Book because why are we calling these live actions when it's still like 90% CGI animals? Like,
Yeah, it's like, what's live action in this? The ground.
Yeah, exactly. There is nothing.
Even that's not always live action.
There's nothing live action about Lion King, and it's creepy and it's weird, and they took out all the best bits. And don't watch the live action Lion King. They shouldn't have made that. That was a mistake. The Jungle Book was kind of interesting.
To film the ground, like they literally went to places to shoot video of like a field, open field, and trees, with nothing there.
Yeah, like what? And then you have things like the newest one is Pinocchio, which I haven't seen yet, but I've watched commentaries on it, and I'm not sure I want to see it because the original Pinocchio, it is their second or third, I think second. Their second animated movie, and my goodness, there's a lot of things wrong with the original, like so much, in a lot of like culturally things like that where like you sit here and you cringe nowadays. But there's also, it's scarring. It's horribly scarring. Kids turn into donkeys. Like, it's horrifying. And apparently that stuff's still in the live action Pinocchio, but people said like the morals behind like why the kids changed seem to be removed. And I'm like concerned about this live action Pinocchio. And apparently like the whole the whale monstro scene is like 5 minutes long.
What?
Exactly. I'm like, that's everyone's favorite scene. And like they gave more time to the fun, whatever it's called, the carnival
Jiminy
thing.
Cricket?
No, the
carnival.
Whatever it's called. It has a name.
I don't know.
It's a cheesy name, whatever it was.
I mean, here's the thing. As soon as I saw the trailer, like not even as I saw the trailer, like as soon as the trailer popped up, like first like 2 seconds, and I realized what it was, I said, "Nope, this is gonna suck." Purely because it is a Disney live-action remake.
Exactly. With the characters.
That was enough for me to say this is gonna suck.
With characters that are CGI again. Like, a main focus on the CGI character.
I thought that he looked kind of creepy. Like, in the trailer. Pinocchio looked disturbing
I mean,
to me.
Pinocchio looks creepy in the cartoon, too, in my opinion. But
I mean, it's not as bad as it was in that other live-action Pinocchio. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about from years ago, but
no, I don't.
At least in that one, he was actually live action.
What?
And not animated. Yeah, there's a live action Pinocchio from quite a while back, and it had a kind of a scary looking Pinocchio.
The only thing I could think of that had like Pinocchio was Once
it.
Upon a Time had a live action Pinocchio, but he wasn't creepy.
He was still CGI for
the actual Pinocchio, but then they had like the actual character was turning back into wood, and that was a whole thing, and that was a mix of like makeup artists, but completely off topic. So I don't. Apparently, like 3 Pinocchio movies and a Pinocchio themed game came out this year or are coming out this year. Yeah. So there's a game that's like a horror Pinocchio themed like game, which okay.
It makes sense for it to be horror.
There's a Pinocchio movie that honestly looks like better than the Disney's version. It looked like an interesting take. I can't remember what it was called or something, but like the few clips I saw of it, I'm like, that kind of, you know what? I might, if I don't think it's on the streaming service I have. Otherwise, I'd probably give it a go. And then there's another which is like a picture one and stuff, which what the?
Because for people who are listening and don't see, I just sent her a picture of a live-action Pinocchio that I was talking about.
Honestly, this doesn't freak me out as much as, like, the Pinocchio in the Disney movie does.
The thing is, I still don't know
because he's wood. That's honestly, I'm impressed by this.
The Adventures of Pinocchio seems to be what this one is called. The Adventures of Pinocchio.
I'm impressed by this. Probably the fact that they made it move and do all the things. Like, you know what? I respect that. Way more than I do the CGI one from Disney.
Yeah, like this one's actually live action.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm trying to think like what other live action movies Disney has done.
But we are a little off topic. We're
We are.
supposed to be talking about Cruella de Vil.
Well, yeah.
Cruella de Vil. So yeah, anyway, villain, protagonist, Cruella de Vil, done extremely well. Um, Something I found a little bit interesting about that movie was how they had the whistle for acting as a command for the dogs, but Dalmatians are known for going deaf.
Are they? Is that a thing? Is that like a lack of research on the writer's part?
I guess. But yeah, Dalmatians are known for going deaf. But then
Oh,
again, there was like this whole bark chain thing in 101 Dalmatians. But that's a cartoon. It's got cartoon logic. We can forgive that one a little bit more.
yeah, I mean, but I
But
love the dog bark chain. I think it's one of the cutest things.
yeah, it's a cool little thing. But I also have to say there is a slight complaint that I have with Cruella, and that is that for a brief moment, like I both love it and I hate it at the same time. But for a brief moment, when she sets her dress on fire to reveal a dress underneath it, or a cloak or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Anyway, she sets it on fire. Suddenly, it felt like she was using magic and it was like a fantasy land. All of a
Katniss
sudden, for those,
Everdeen, Hunger Games. Was
yeah,
my
but
first thought.
that's Hunger Games in the future, and it's
No,
still
but like that's
sci-fi.
what it's. I'm. That's what I'm saying. It's like it's very
That
remnant
seems to
of
be what it was
her.
inspired by.
It really did.
But yeah, like when she did that, I'm suddenly like, wait, does she have magic now? What is this?
No, it's
But
just.
it felt like magic.
Well, here's the thing. Like,
Like,
it's not magic. And in case you didn't know this, she is very well aware of like the fabrics and stuff she's using, and how to use it to do like creative things. Like the whole moth dress. That thing was so
that was
cool.
genius.
She's a genius. She's a mad genius, especially in design. So I honestly found it perfectly believable that she saw a fabric that would she could use the fire for and stuff, or that she would do research. And she's also a con artist who like specializes in also doing like con like displays and stuff. So I was under no doubt that she could set her dress on fire and like reveal a costume, because that is something that you see in like magic shows and stuff in that era. So I'm like, she could figure it out. She could do it. Plus, she looked really cool doing it. Like, she looked cooler
Oh
than
yeah,
Katniss
that's the
did.
part that I love about it. Like that's my love hate thing. It looked so awesome, but at the
Her
same time,
outfits.
I felt like I had to stretch my disbelief to.
Yeah.
It was really
I found it
uh
fine, personally.
like that's about as far as my criticisms go for this movie.
Also,
Like
the fact like this was so fashion based but still extremely entertaining was great. Like I
yeah,
love the outfits and like
I'm
the
not interested in fashion or anything, but this was awesome.
yeah, like seeing like the workspace that everyone was working, and like the judging of dresses, and her outfits always being on point all the time. It was just great.
Yeah, and but I want to go back to that moth egg one because that was something that I was just amazed by. Like I was
So
watching it, I'm
good.
like, oh my gosh, that is the most
Genius.
genius thing ever. You lock the dresses behind the spell. It's like she can't get to it. So what do? You make the dress out of moth eggs. And the thing is, she knew that by that time the Baroness was gonna have figured her out because she made the dress.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Yeah, the Baroness is on to me. Time for me to do one final thing where where it's gonna destroy all the dresses, and it doesn't matter if she figures out that it was me because I made that dress.
Yeah.
She's gonna have figured it out anyway.
Yes.
And like the timing and everything was just
Oh.
so clever, and I love it.
I also liked watching her play like the two roles. Like she's Cruella, and then she's also oh, I feel bad. I can't.
Stella.
Stella, yeah, and then she's Stella. You think I'd remember that? That was my hamster's name. So she was Cruella, and
That's Stella.
yeah, and she was Stella, and like playing off of those. And for once, like you could believe she didn't know who like the other personnel was, like, because they were so starkly different in, like, style and manner, and like, you thought they were two different people. But, like, to us, it made sense that they were the same person, but, like, they were, like, she was turning from Stella to Cruella, and you were watching it happen before your very eyes, and, you know, eventually in the end, you just have Cruella. And I thought that was just a really cool way to do it, and letting us see it was, like, I didn't think I wanted this movie until I watched it, and then I realized actually I did want this movie.
Yeah, like, when I heard about this movie, I'm like, oh, do we really need an origin story for Cruella? And it's live action, and it's Disney, But then people were saying, it's actually a pretty good movie. So I'm like, is it? And then I watched it, and this movie is not talked about nearly enough.
It really wasn't.
It wasn't just a good movie. It was a fantastic movie.
I was really slow. I mean, but this was the same way. It happened with Magnificent, too. Like, Magnificent was an amazing movie, and people, like, they kind of just slept on it. And, like, it got some press and, like, some, like, oh, this is good and stuff. But I'm like, it's really great. And now it gets, like, a lot of bad press of being, like, oh, the reason why, like, live action is so popular. And I'm like, look, I don't know why the live action movies are so popular. Because Maleficent and Cruella do not qualify under live action remakes. Because they're not.
Action, like, they're reinterpretations. Or, like, Cruella isn't even a reinterpretation.
It's
Cruella is just an add-on to the story.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Totally separate story.
Exactly. Yeah, so... I
didn't know how they were going to make it work, but they did.
I did. I just... Kudos to the writers. Kudos to the actors. All of them were amazing. And whoever is costume design deserves all the money in the world. Because they were beautiful. One of the best parts of the show.
Would it be something amazing if the person who played Cruella also was the person who designed the outfits?
She didn't. I could tell you that right now.
I know, but it would be amazing if that was the case.
You know, it's okay that they're different people. As long as we believe Cruella made those outfits. That's all that matters.
Yeah. But then there was the trash one where it all gets dumped out of the back of the garbage truck. And I was looking at that one and I'm like, it's grand, it's big, but at the same time, that is the ugliest, the most impractical thing she's made yet.
But it's great. But it made a statement.
Yeah.
It was a powerful statement. You got it. You got the statement. That it was a statement piece, and that's what she made. And that's all, like, runway fashion is. They're all just statement pieces. Like, who actually wears these things?
Yeah, I never understood, like, the runway fashion, because it's just like, it's like, behold, I am going to wear a disco ball.
Yeah. Like, I would get it if they want to call it, like, art, but in clothing. And then afterwards they go, like, sit in a display or something or tour around the world where everyone could see it and experience the art of it. Or, I mean, and I guess that's why people watch runway shows. But it's just, runway shows are so exclusive. Like, you don't feel like you can go out and you can watch them and enjoy them. And, you know, the purpose of art is for people to enjoy. And so I feel like I would appreciate runways more if they stopped being about fashion and being more about art. Because nobody's wearing those clothes.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that they haven't made that transition and they're just talking about it as an art form.
Or at least, like, the high-end ones.
More what it is.
Yeah, because there are some where, like, they are, like, Victoria's Secret is actually going out and they're displaying their actual clothes, or other, like, the big clothes brands are actually runwaying the clothes they're selling this season that we can all buy and we can just see them for the first time. That's different. Those are actual runway things, but I'm talking more like the ones that, like, Cruella de Vil's whole story is revolving around, like, these really high-end, like, these are $1,000 dresses. They are one of a kind. One person buys them and they never wear it. They just stare at it.
I'm going to tell you right now what pretty much my entire wardrobe is like. Blue jeans and a t-shirt with something stupid on it. Like, that's my wardrobe.
Okay, I looked in the mirror today and was like, am I really going to go into public wearing this? And then I looked at the time and said, well, I have no choice now. And I walked out. So I got, like, baggy, I call them my fall jeans because they've got, like, leaves printed and they're in, like, fall colors. And then I have a sweatshirt on, which is my casting crown sweater. and I have on my bird like button up shirt, and the collar, I didn't even mean to do this, but the collar is poking through, and I'm trying to think what I look like staring in the mirror, and I'm like, I got my hair braided in the two braids, Laura Ingalls style, and I'm just looking at myself in the mirror being like, is this really how I want the world to view me? Like, is this how I'm going out into the world? Because I don't know how I feel about myself right now. And that's like all my outfits. I always just look in the mirror and being like, what is this? No one can read me in this outfit. I guess that's okay. Let's go out into the world.
Yeah, personally, here's my thing about fashion. I think that more people need to just start wearing over the top. Maybe not completely over the top, like
Yeah.
slightly over the top outfits. Like, more people need to start wearing things like trench coats, because trench coats are
Trench
cool.
coats are cool. I agree.
Like I have a very light trench coat. It's not like a big heavy one, but it's a really light one, and I like to go out and wear that when it's a little bit cool out. Otherwise, I will sweat. But when it's cool out and I can wear sleeves, and I'll throw that on, and it looks cool, and I feel cool wearing that.
Well,
thing.
I have one of my favorite jackets. It's just a jean jacket, but the thing that makes it special is that it is neon pink. Like, you can see me on the other side of the planet in this thing. It is so bright, and I love it. And I wear it all the time, and I get looks and compliments depending on like people's ideas of it. And of course I wear a lot of printed jeans, which is, I know, weird, but I don't care. And I wear shirts that you always match the jeans. I have a very erratic sense of style, and it probably came from like being invisible most of my life, or feeling invisible I should say, not that I actually was, but that I felt like it my entire life. And now I'm like more confident in myself, and I'm like, you know what, I want to be seen, and I'm gonna wear whatever the heck I want. Like, I have too many jackets at this point. I've got jackets I've sewn myself. I've got a leather jacket that I wear about, and is a look, and none of the looks match the other looks, and I just wear them all anyways. And I am perfectly happy with my sense of style, even though my mother questions it all the time.
Yeah, I really, part of me wants to just go and get more like stylish pieces.
I mean, we're going vintage
just
clothes shop. We're going we're gonna go thrifting when you come up to visit me. So
yes,
that's a good time to do it.
I do think we're once again.
Oh, definitely.
Getting a little
off topic. These are the off-topic episodes, in case people haven't caught on. Whenever we're like, let's talk about a movie or a theme like this. This is the time when we just ramble, and you guys get to learn more about us than probably anything else.
Yes, even though I try to keep it less about us, and I'm trying to keep on getting us back on track.
It's like once every 2 or 3 months we do one of these. I don't feel bad about it. It's a podcast that's unscripted. It happens.
True.
You guys know what you're getting into.
Do we want to talk more about like villain protagonists as stories, and like more about why they aren't really done as much?
I mean, I guess it's because for most of them, the endings are like very predictable. Like, you can't help it. It's very hard not to have a predictable ending. Because there's
Cruella achieved this.
Yeah, well, no, Cruella, the ending was still pretty predictable. Like, she was going to become Cruella de Vil by the end. That's the ending.
You knew that. You were told that in the beginning.
No, I'm saying the journey can be very unpredictable and stuff, but the ending is... This is what happened. She becomes Cruella de Vil. Like, we all knew what was going to happen at the end.
That's because we're told that before the movie even begins.
Yeah, but, like, in a sense, like, a lot of movies, like, and shows have that. Like, either you're like, okay, either this villain's going to become the good guy at some point, which is what happened in Maleficent, or the villain's going to achieve their evil goal and realize it's not good and feel depressed, which happens in several others, like, more TV shows. And it's a very popular trope in, like, anime with villain protagonists. Is when, like, the villain, you kind of start rooting for him, and you're like, but this is bad, they shouldn't get it, and then they do get it, and then they realize it's bad, and then it's just a sad ending, or then they have their turnaround, and then they become good, which is still, like, what you expect.
Okay, so I actually tried my best a while back to do research on villain protagonists because they weren't done much, and I wanted to know how to write them and everything.
Yeah.
And in my research, I tried looking up, like, there's a list of villain protagonists. The list consisted of, this is before Cruella. The list consisted of Maleficent, Gru, Megamind, and like 10 anime dudes.
Yeah, I'm telling you, anime guys.
Like, that was the list.
Well, I'm glad they considered Maleficent one. You know, they missed, though, the one that kind of started it all. Which, the Christmas Carol and Mr. Scrooge.
Oh yeah, I think that one was also...
He better have been. I'm going to be very upset.
Yeah.
Because he's the one who made people realize that this could be done. And that it could be done well.
I'm not super familiar with the story. I vaguely know it, but wasn't Svengali a villain protagonist, or was it the person that he was manipulating and like hypnotizing? I think it was the protagonist. Again, I'm not super familiar with the story. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I'm trying to remember.
It's an old story. Svengali. I don't even know what it's called. It might be called Svengali. Hold on, I'm gonna look it up. I don't think it's called Svengali.
Yeah, I'm trying to think like how to spell it. I know there's one, but like nobody liked that one. Like there's a short story. I'm trying to remember who wrote it. I want to say it was Nathaniel Hawthorne.
Okay, it's in the novel Trilby. Trilby, first published in 1894 by George du Maurier. I don't know how to pronounce that.
You think this would be something I'd know?
Yeah, it's from Trilby. Svengali. And I look it up, and there is actually a word that's like a definition for a person who exercises a controlling or mesmeric influence on another, especially for a sinister purpose. But like, is he? I don't know if he's I don't know if he's a protagonist or.
I mean, he is by the sounds.
Well,
Seems See, when I think of this, like this trope of like a guy, like it's usually a guy controlling a woman in a way to like use her for societal gains. I'm pretty sure, I want to say it was Nathaniel Hawthorne, but I could be wrong, and it could be some other American writer, short writist. I think of the one, he had one where, like, it was this guy, and he took, like, this, I think she was either a maid, she might have even been a prostitute. I don't know what level it was. And he trains her to be, like, the height of society, and, like, completely brainwashes her, and, like, abuses her in horrible ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that one.
Again,
but this one's definitely older, so this might have been the original of that. But that's like a trope in itself, and I don't think it interestingly enough, I don't think it falls under villain protagonist, because it's this whole other thing of like there's a person, mostly because there's two characters sharing the screen kind of evenly. There's the manipulator, and then there's the person being manipulated. And honestly, all those stories, they just make you feel extremely uncomfortable. They're supposed to. It's really dark, it's twisted, it's horrible, it makes you think. Yeah. And they are fascinating, and I love reading them. And I'm...
Well, a protagonist is just the focus.
Yeah, but there's a shared protagonist at this point. So, and one of them's, like, seen as the good person, and it's usually them that kind of is seen as the star, so it's not like, I don't know. I don't know. It just isn't one that's usually associated with it.
Yeah, I mean, a protagonist is really just anybody who is the main focus point character, the one we follow throughout the story. That is the protagonist, and if that happens to be a villain, then that's our villain protagonist. And if there's two characters that are sharing the screen time, then like pretty evenly, one being the manipulator, one being the manipulated, I would call them both a protagonist. But it's hard to say, because like at the same time, they would both fall under the category of antagonist as well. That's weird.
Yeah, but with it also, so it's kind of like Jekyll and Hyde. Like, how do you qualify that? Like, does he qualify? as one.
Um, I
I still haven't
would
read this
think
book. I'm well aware of that.
well,
So,
you've not read Jekyll and Hyde.
not yet. I know. Again,
Okay, I
surprising.
have read it, and I don't think it, if I recall, it doesn't actually follow Jekyll and Hyde. Like, it follows a different guy, and it tells the story of Jekyll and Hyde through,
Yeah, but
like,
like he's
another
still.
person's eyes.
Oh, so it's more like a Dracula situation.
Yeah, so it's more like Dracula.
Okay. Where like
Um,
he's kind of okay, Dracula's not like the main focus, but like he's supposed to be the main focus of the story, but it's the other characters who are interacting with him who are the main characters. Yeah, but
yeah.
I'm just saying like in a lot of like
Thing
movies
is,
and shows.
I cannot recall. I cannot recall any of the characters'
Oh,
names
you
from
know
Jekyll
one
and
that
Hyde, other
wanna,
than Jekyll and Hyde.
yeah, you want to know someone who probably does qualify though? Frankenstein. Dr. Frankenstein
My mind went to the exact same
he definitely
area.
qualifies. I've read that book 3 times for 3 separate classes. It's the only reason I've read it so much. So
I read it twice. One was for a class, the other was just because I wanted to read it again.
It's a good book. The ending's a little meh, but the rest of it's good. But yeah,
Yeah.
I would say Dr. Frankenstein is definitely like you can't. He's fun. He's a fun character like to dive deep into, which is probably why the book is so popular. Like he's not the greatest guy, but you kind of understood why he does things. But you also kind of like you're a creep and you're weird and you need to stop. But you kind of see where he's coming at and his
But dude,
pride.
is he bad enough for us to call him a full-blown villain? I mean, I think
That's true.
he might be a villain. Because I mean, he gives life to this creature and then is immediately like, oh, failed experiment, and like,
Look, a lot of people would. Yeah, I was about
and...
to say a lot of people call bad parents villains. So I would say he's.
He's like the lowest level of villain. Like he just meets the.
I mean, but like a lot of people would say,
villain.
is Mr. Scrooge a villain? And I would say yeah, because he treats people horribly and he's not the greatest guy and he has a change of heart by the end of it. And I feel like Frankenstein's very similar, except he doesn't have that full change of heart. In fact, they even made his death like kind of villainous, in that he like dies and the monster doesn't get like any satisfaction out of his death like he had been hoping. Like he comes too late to witness Frankenstein. Frankenstein dies before the monster can have a moment with him. Like the audacity of the man.
Yeah.
Was kind of what, like, the vibe you got from his death. Like, you couldn't even wait 10 minutes so the monster could have a chat with you before you died.
Nope.
It's too good.
Yeah, classics are interesting. It's like, are all of the villain protagonists either classic stories, and it seems like all the villain protagonists are made up of classic stories and goofy villains like Gru and Megamind, and anime dudes.
Yeah. But
actually, I think I heard about one when I was researching this. I think there was one. It was an anime girl who was like a child, I think.
I mean, I'm not familiar enough with anime to like name shows.
Neither am I. I just found this one while I was trying to research it. It was I think it was a child that was somehow wreaking havoc on a city. I don't remember. But she was. I think she was something similar to the Joker, just deceptively cute instead of obviously evil because, creepy makeup.
Oh, that's true. Like, the Joker got his own movie, and so did, like, Harley Quinn. So, like, villains. And those are. I mean, I've heard the Joker's really good and thought-provoking. I just haven't seen it.
Yeah, I
or
won't
things
watch
like
it because
Suicide Squad as well. Are like I should say like DC has been really diving.
Bad things about the Suicide Squad.
I have too. And I've heard like Birds of Prey was not like the greatest movie in the world, but Joker I heard was really good. I just don't know if I want to watch it. I kind of do. I kind of don't. I don't want to watch it alone. I think it's my feelings about Joker. Like if someone watched it with me, I'd watch it. But
yeah,
but like that's the thing though. Like out of like qualified good villain protagonist movies, I think Joker also qualifies under that. We're just not qualified to talk about it because neither of us have seen it. But I'm acknowledging its existence.
Yeah, I can only talk about what I've heard of it.
Yeah.
Maybe one day I'll watch it. Probably not, because I tend to avoid R-rated movies. I've still
It's true. It is
not seen a
R-rated.
single R-rated movie. So
I've seen one more one that was really good. I'm pretty clean for R-rated. It was just R because blood, gore, it's war. Um, I've seen another R-rated movie and I don't remember what it was. It wasn't memorable in any way for me to remember what it was. You know, and I've started watching. I've watched 2 TV 14 shows, which has been a new experience. But I'm a very person like I'm fine with like blood, gore, dark topics. I just can't do sexual stuff.
I believe that Merlin is TV 14.
Is it? Was that my first TV 14 show?
Maybe
I
it was
watched that when I
originally
was
PG.
12.
It was PG, and then I saw that they changed the rating to TV 14.
Look,
one day.
I've rewatched it 3 times because Merlin's the best show ever. But I've watched that, and I'm like, when I was like, I think I first watched it when I was 12, and I love that show. And I rewatched it again when I was 17, and I'm like, my mom let me watch this at 12? What was she thinking? Like, what? This is dark. And I'm like, but I love it, and I'm so glad she let me
The
watch
first
it.
season, maybe.
The first
season
no, the first season has some things. You rewatch season 1, and you're just like, wow, my mom let me watch this as a kid, and I couldn't watch Pokemon. Like,
I wasn't allowed to watch Pokemon either. I don't know why. I think there was a misunderstanding as to what
Pokemon lore, yeah.
was. Like, I think that my mom thought it was something to do with spirits and magic or something. I don't know.
But Merlin is magic, like hands down. But I mean, actually, so I've thought, oh my gosh, I've lost it. I thought of like another good like villain protagonist, and then I've lost it because we were talking about Merlin, and I get excited when I talk. Oh, it's Once Upon a Time, actually. That's why I was thinking about it. Because it's my other favorite show. I know, like, technically Emma is, like, the main character of Once Upon a Time, but in my honest-to-goodness opinion, the evil queen is, and her arc and, like, her character in the Once Upon a Time series is what makes that series so great. And same with Rumpelstiltskin. Like, they're two villains,
And
their
Hook.
main character. Hook? Oh, Hook is pretty good, too, yeah. I mean, he comes in later, and he's kind of smaller. Like, I like his arc, and I think it's great and stuff, but, like, the two defining ones has always been Rumpelstiltskin and the Evil Queen for me.
100% Rumpelstiltskin, my favorite character.
Rumpelstiltskin is one of the best ever written villains. But, like, but, like, in Merlin, Morgana is also really well written and really well done, and her arc
I
is
want to
is great.
say real quick, one of my favorite villain tropes is the deal maker. Like, that is, like, my favorite villain trope ever, is the deal maker. I find them so interesting, and there's so much you can do with it, and they give me so much fun. And it brings in a lot of strategy into the villains' ways of doing things, and you're always wondering what do they have planned, what use do they have with this contract that they've created.
Yeah, I mean, I'm rewatching it with my brother when we visit each other, and we're in season 1, and like watching like for one, the writers of this story had this thought out from season 1. Like they had practically the whole series planned out before it started. They just changed up characters as new characters like introduced themselves. But like the main plot they had
season 7.
Yeah, they had it for like since season 1. Because you're sitting there and you're watching this and you're seeing Rumpelstiltskin make these like moves throughout like the first few episodes, like getting Emma's name and being imprisoned and like getting the evil queen to do her spell and all that. He was the mastermind. And you knew that once you finished the series, but getting to watch it again, because I've only ever watched it fully once, so this is only my second viewing, but getting to watch it a second time and seeing how much of a mastermind Rumpelstiltskin is amazing. Like, the evil queen had no clue who was running the show, really. And it wasn't her. And it was great.
Yeah, I mean, she thought that she was in control, but at the same time, you could tell the entire time she's just thinking to herself, I might not be in control here. And she's always trying to figure out what is Rumpelstiltskin planning, because even before she casts her curse, he's like, hey, I want to make a deal with you. I want power and all of this stuff. And also, I want you to do whatever I say so long as I say please.
Okay, I will
He's like, but
say...
you'll have no memory of this. He's like, it won't matter. And he's like, won't it? She's like, whatever, fine. Cast the curse. Make the deal. And that was just fantastic.
I will say, though, like, these people make some ridiculous deals. Like, absolute... Like, without, like, second thought. With the Rumpelstiltskin. Like, Rumpelstiltskin lays out, like, hey, this is what I want. Like people need to realize they can't have open-ended deals with Rumpelstiltskin. Like, you can have whatever you want. It's so dumb.
Keep in mind, Rumpelstiltskin preys on
desperation.
People being desperate. Yeah, desperation.
So good.
He preys on that so hard, like the entire time. It's like, oh, you need something to cure your broken heart. How desperate are you? I'll do anything. That's what I love to hear. And then makes a deal. Like that's Rumpelstiltskin. He's always making some sort of open-ended deal, and where people are willing to offer up anything. So it's like, I'll do anything for love. Okay, deal. Years later, I'm going to take your firstborn child.
Yeah, the Cinderella episode, we just watched that one. It's the one we actually just finished. We're not deep in the series.
I need to ask, what are your thoughts on season 7?
Which one's season 7? Are you referring to, like, the remake?
No, it's when Henry grows up.
Yeah, the remake. That's not
remake.
Season 7. It's a remake, in my opinion. It's just a
But it was a sequel. It was set up as a sequel in like the final episode of season 6, like where they were.
Yeah, but it's a different show.
Henry. Okay, because it was in the same.
No, it's a different show.
It was in the same series when I was watching it on Netflix. Anyway,
that's weird. I don't like that.
And it was marked as season 7, and they show it as a sequel at the end of season 6. Like they set it up at the end of season 6.
Yeah, and I'm not happy about it. No, but the way I justify it is I view season 7 as it's a completely no show, and it's season 1, and it didn't do well, and that's why it didn't continue.
I mean, I looked at season 7. Season 7, I don't think was ever meant to go beyond season 7. Like. It basically what happened was they had 6 seasons planned out, and then ABC was like, yeah, or whoever was making it was like, you know what? This show's doing really, really well. Let's squeeze in one more season and then force the writers to make one more season. I think that's what happened, but the reason I think that is because season 6 wrapped up so nicely at like this perfect ending, and then they ruined it.
Yeah. No, I honestly, I got through season 7, and I was okay with it for a few episodes, and then it kept going, and then I got the Rumpelstiltskin closure I needed in my life. Let me say, I got the Belle closure I needed in my life, and then I just kind of was like, I couldn't watch it anymore. It got, like, unbearably, like, I just was not enjoying it. So I ended up stopping.
It was terrible.
Yeah.
It was just the worst thing ever. I
can't get over the fact
I watched the whole thing and I hated the whole thing.
Yeah, I did not enjoy it. I'm still upset that they didn't continue the Alice in Wonderland. Like, that was good. Like, the one season of Alice in Wonderland, Once Upon a Time spinoff, was really enjoyable for me. And then, they threw the guy in the genie bottle off the waterfall, and then all of a sudden he shows up in, like, I think it was season 4 or season 5 of Once Upon a Time, and I'm just like, how'd you get here? What happened to Alice? Give me answers! And then they never address it. He's just there.
Yeah, it was...
like, what? You can't be here and not be a genie anymore and not address the entire season that you went through, because you're the same character, and you're broken-hearted over the fact that Alice picked the genie over you. Despite my brother insisting that he wasn't, but my brother doesn't understand romance in any form or fashion. So, like, I have questions, and they were never answered. That's the only, like, my biggest thing about Once Upon a Time was that they brought that character in and then didn't answer any of my questions about him. I'm still upset.
Yeah, that...
Not over it.
It was, I thought it was it's an okay show. It's not super great, like the Alice in Wonderland one.
Oh no, I get it's like a personal taste. type thing, and it was
Yeah.
just I'm the person. Like I just got really into it. But I'm an
I
Alice in
was
Wonderland
very
nut.
into I was very into Once Upon a Time.
Very much so
At
too.
least like up until season 7. Like season 7, you don't need to watch season 7. If
Don't
you've
watch
not
it.
watched Once Upon a Time, you don't need to watch season 7.
But you
Ignore
do need to
the
watch the
very
first 6
last
seasons.
moment and the cliffhanger at the end of season 6. Ignore that. Just stop there and say that never happened. Season 6 was the ending and it was perfect.
And then move on with your life.
Just don't watch season 7.
Yeah, I agree.
It's awful. It will ruin the show for you.
It doesn't need to.
It's so bad.
There's a yeah, it doesn't need to exist. But you know what? I'd say that was 15 minutes of us rambling about stuff.
Yeah,
We had
that's a lot of rambling.
we had a theme for this podcast, and then we're like, you know what? That just died halfway through. But hopefully you guys
We
enjoyed
tried.
it. No, we didn't.
What Cruella? That's supposed to be what this was about. And I got my Cruella-ness out for the most part.
Yeah.
I still think that like there's so much more to talk about with Cruella, but we spent our time talking about other things.
I guess it didn't hold our interest enough to like dedicate a whole podcast to it, unlike Dragon Prince. Which, by the way, season 4, November, yay! Get excited, people. In case you didn't know, because I know we got like a few subscribers from that episode, so like if you didn't know, the Dragon Prince season 4 is coming up in like 2 months, so get excited. But I think this is a good place to end. Hope you don't mind. Every now and then we just need to ramble about stuff to you guys, so hopefully you guys enjoyed it. And next week we'll do our normal world building episode for you guys. So hopefully you look
Yeah,
forward
I've got
to
a
that.
few interesting ideas written down.
My
They're gonna be
brother came
fun.
up with one. I need to ask him what it was again because I forgot, but it seemed interesting. So we also have that one. I'll get that back from him. But yeah, we will see you guys next week. Hi, hope you guys have a good day, good week, good life. Watch lots of TV shows. And yeah, bye.
Shower curtain.